Rocky Bleier and Chad Henning have 7 Super Bowl rings between them, but they didn't earn them until after they served in the United States military. They're here with Anthony Munoz, the greatest offensive tackle in NFL history, to discuss life on the gridiron and on the battlefield. Anthony?
Thank you, Akbar. I'm joined by 2 men I have tremendous respect for. I'm going to start with you, Rocky. After a college career at Notre Dame, national champs, team captain, now you get drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1968, and then when a few months after that, you get drafted again, this time into the Army. Talk about your feelings at the time all this unfolded.
This whole conflict was taking place during the 60s as I come of age. And I'm in Pittsburgh. I get drafted, kind of living that dream. After 11 games that season, I got drafted by Uncle Sam. It happened so quickly. It was like I got a letter to report the next morning to be inducted into the armed services of your country. So somewhat you didn't have time to think about. All you did was react to the situation, and you go down, get your physical, and you're off. Ultimately, like thousands of other young men, I ended up over in Vietnam in a combat unit at that time.
Now, Rocky, as you say, you go to Vietnam, you're out with your patrol, you're patrolling with your brigade, you get wounded. Tell us what happened.
Well, basically, we're very quickly in a situation that we were to help a sister company that got hit. And so we're in a firefight out in the open rice paddies. I got hit once there in the field. Then we dropped back and I got hit a second time with a grenade that penetrated our perimeter and blew up through my right foot, knee, and thigh. So then I came back and spent 9 months in the hospital back at the States.
Well, Chad, you started on the military path a little sooner. You chose to attend the U.S. Air Force Academy to play football, to train, and to serve our country. You had an interesting situation there. You were a top NFL prospect, but yet you had a service commitment. Was that a struggle that you had going on there with that?
Having a minimum of a 5-year military commitment upon graduation and choosing to up that to 8 years because I was going into pilot training, technically playing in the NFL was never an option. But having had the success that I had inside of me, I wanted to know, quote unquote, if I had the right stuff. It tore me up inside where I was conflicted that I wanted to be out there, but I knew to be a man of integrity, a man of purpose, a man of character, that I had to follow my word.
Well, you talked about being a pilot. I'd imagine it was a little tough squeezing that 6'6" frame into a cockpit.
That's an understatement. I had received waivers from both my height and weight. I was too tall and too heavy to fit into the Aces 2 ejection seat. Funny story quickly that when I was flying the initial jet trainer, the T-37 at Shepherd Air Force Base, the wing flight surgeon came up to me 2 weeks after I was flying that jet and said, "Chad, we had to go back and check the design specifications of the ejection seat because we're not sure if you'd clear the tail if you ever had to punch out of that aircraft." So I said, I'm not in the Navy. I'm not supposed to go down with the ship. But from then on, my instructor pilots would actually brief that if we were in a controlled ejection situation, which is an oxymoron for a controlled crash, that we'd go to a controlled bailout area, roll the aircraft inverted upside down, then pull the ejection handles to allow that extra G of the Earth's gravitational force to pull me out of the plane. So, hey, sacrifices must be made, and if you want to do something, you got to be willing to take risks.
You flew in the Persian Gulf War in 1991. Talk about that experience of serving our country in that way.
I flew the missions out of Incirlik, Turkey, in the northern part of Iraq, predominantly supporting the Kurds in Operation Provide Comfort. And it was of humanitarian missions, but yet there, in the same time we were there, the potential for conflict and combat was always there.
Now you fast forward after you served, you joined the Cowboys as a 26-year-old rookie. What was that transition like?
Our armed forces went through a reduction in force where they wanted to downsize. So they waived, not just for me, but across the board, commitment time. So my pilot training commitment, that 8 years, was waived. Not enough individuals were getting out, so then they waived 24 months off of my service academy commitment, which then allowed me to then go play for the Cowboys. So I flew my last mission in northern Iraq in '92, and I played in the Super Bowl the same year. You talk about life happening. That was drinking by the fire hose in a big way.
You both played on teams that were considered dynasties in their era. What were the intangibles that made those teams so successful?
For me, it was the aspect around being around a group of guys that were totally selfless. They did whatever it took to win the games. It wasn't about their personal agendas. It was about team victories. And it wasn't just about winning football games. It was about winning Super Bowls. You know, for us to do that run that we did, winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, the guys that ended up being future Hall of Famers, it was all about what the team needed to do for the team to win.
I agree with you, Chad, in that respect. And if I look at our organization specifically, but it was really the peer pressure within the team that molded that team together. People who would stand up, and make you accountable for your actions at that time, and you knew where you stood and what the responsibilities were. And if you didn't, you would have Jack Lambert or Joe Green remind you of what they were supposed to be. And so that was always important.
Well, guys, first of all, I just want to personally say I'm thankful to be in the same fraternity with both of you as NFL alumni football players, having all 3 played in the NFL. And then the next thing is thank both of you for your service to this great country. God bless you, and keep up the great work.